Hi, how are you all today? Today, welcome to What's with JoAnn. A lovely day to be spending with you all. And thank you again for staying, in tune with what I do. My passion and my love for books and my love for reading. Today, I'm going to be sharing with you a lovely author that I presume I must have read all his books. Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, even to the newest one, which I will be sharing with today, and that is no one other person but Malcolm Gladwell, you know, talking to strangers. Talking to strangers. This is one book that when I saw that, I was like, really? What made Malcolm think about writing such a book? What is it about talking to strangers? For so many of us, sometimes we see strangers and we're like, oh my gosh, I hope this person is not going to talk to me. Oh, I really don't want to talk to this person, especially when you're on the bus in transit or when you're at a meeting, even sometimes when you're going into class for the first time. Definitely sometimes you're going to a class and you might just all be meeting each other for the very first time. How do you feel? What kind of butterflies do you have in your stomach when you're meeting someone new for the first time? And those were some of the things I thought that, Malcolm will be sharing. And it's amazing how this is real life. He brings in different context of how people meet, from Hitler to, different people meeting strangers and how those people leave each other, not knowing that what is on the mind of the other person. Sometimes I wonder, even for myself, I'm someone who likes to smile. I'm someone who likes to chat with people. But again, I leave certain people thinking, is that person really happy with my smile? Or how has that person left me? Did the person leave me saying, oh, what is even wrong with this woman? Why is she all smile? Or does that person leave my presence feeling, oh, I've taken a part of her with me? A part of her, I mean, it's like a part of me of being, a smiling person or happy person or, sending out those positive vibes towards the person. I'm going to read like the beginning of a part of this book which really struck with me, and a part of me, it says, many years ago when my parents came down to visit me in New York City, I decided to put them up at the Mercer Hotel. It was a bit of mischief on my part. The Mercer is chic and exclusive, the kind of place where the famous and the fabulous stay. My parents, and particularly my father, were oblivious to that kind of thing. My father did not watch TV or go to the movies or listen to popular music. He would have thought People magazine was an anthropology journal. His areas of expertise were specific: mathematics, gardening, and the Bible. I came to pick up my parents for dinner and asked my father how his day had been. Wonderful, he said. Apparently, he had spent the afternoon in conversation with a man in the lobby. This was fairly typical behavior for my father. He liked to talk to strangers. What did you talk about? I asked. Gardening, my father said. What was his name? Oh, I have no idea. But the whole time people were coming up to him to take pictures and have him sign little bits of paper. If there's a Hollywood celebrity reading this who remembers chatting with a bearded Englishman long ago in the lobby of the Mercer Hotel, please contact me. For everyone else, consider the lesson. Sometimes the best conversations between strangers allow the stranger to remain a stranger. His father knew he was talking to someone. His father knew that this same person he was speaking to, people were coming to collect autographs, getting them to sign things. But the father was like, okay, I was speaking to someone, but I don't know his name. And you can see the way Malcolm ended that part of the book. He said, sometimes the best conversations between strangers is allow the stranger to remain a stranger without finding out what the name of this person is and who this person is. I will share a story quickly. 2 days ago, I was taking a walk with my students, and the part of this walk was looking at the various types of gardening or gardens, because I just taught them 3 types of garden. So as we're walking down the road, we stopped right in front of like a backyard garden in front of a house to look at what was going on. And then someone came out and said, "Hey, what are you guys looking at? Are you adoring the stones? You can see, we were talking about gardens, but the person thought, oh, we were looking at the various types of stones, on that in that garden." And we said, no, that we're not geologists. That was the first question the person asked. I said, so I introduced myself. I said, oh, I'm actually a teacher, and and this is what I'm doing. The man approached us and said, "Oh, what are you looking at?" And I said, "Oh, no, we're not looking at the stones. I'm actually talking to my students about different types of gardening." And then the next thing the man said, "JoAnn." And I was like, "JoAnn?" I said, "That's my name." He said, "Oh, no, that's not I'm not calling you. I'm actually calling my wife." You can see that, when he said JoAnn, initially I was like, how come you know my name? But then he said, "Oh, that's my wife's name, and my wife is the one into gardening." He said JoAnn because he was trying to call his wife's attention to what we're doing around gardening, and he wanted his wife to sort of like share more details about gardening with us. And amazingly, I found myself talking with the man and his wife, who ended up giving us some plants to transfer to my class garden. But you know what? I knew the wife's name by the time we finished the conversation, but I didn't know the man who even initiated the conversation. So I left him. We both left each other as strangers, but he knew that my name was JoAnn, and that's I'm his wife's namesake. So sometimes, as you meet strangers, what impact do you leave in the life of that stranger? How do you feel, with that? Connecting with that stranger, associating with that stranger, how does that play out? And so for me, that is something exceptional I got from this book, is that when you talk to strangers, what impact do you leave that stranger knowing that you've gotten some information from that person, or does that person leave you not knowing what's in that person's heart? The person could just be leaving you to go do something negative, but because you've said something or you've given that person a smile, the person has a rethink, or the person can decide, what you've really done to me, I'm going to execute what I've decided to do. So the world is filled up with so many people, but how do you end up leaving someone by your side, the stranger by your side? I take transit a lot. Sometimes when I get on the transit, I'm sitting down, and 80% of the time I tend to engage in a conversation, asking the person beside me, "Hey, how are you?" And most of the time, I tell you, the person beside me is asking questions or talking, and sharing information, but we end up leaving each other without knowing our names, without even ourselves knowing who we are or what it entails. And so I'm going to be, some of other books of Malcolm Gladwell that I have is What the Dog Saw and Other Adventures, David and Goliath. I have Tipping Point as a soft copy. I have The Outliers as a printed and soft copy. And I have Blink, so these are some of his books I have. I think that's all, if I'm not mistaken. And I listen to Malcolm Gladwell's podcast and his YouTube, So another book I recommend for everyone to read is The Tipping Point and The Outliers. Or rather, I recommend you to get all Malcolm Gladwell's books to read. And if you're interested, I could give you some of his, the soft copy which I have. Just send me, put a comment down and said, "Hey, JoAnn, can I have some of the copies you have, some of Malcolm Gladwell's soft copies of his books?" And then I'll definitely send it to you. Then enjoy the rest of your week, and don't forget to subscribe and so you get my notifications. Take care then, and do have a wonderful rest of the month. Bye bye.